Justin Rubel, ladies and gentlemen. Dude, I'm so excited to have you here on the podcast because, as you know, I have been trying to get this created for such a long time.
Right.
And now that it's actually here, at least in the beginning stages, you know, I got the microphones, the Shure SM7Bs, the little audio interface. I got my cameras here, the lights, and if I'm my own place, it feels like
You got a studio.
I got a little studio here,
Yeah.
and I can't wait to actually have a physical studio.
Right.
So, thanks for coming here, man.
Thank you.
How have you been? How have you been, Justin? We were talking about you just got, well, not just, but you said that you finished your house and are renting it out.
Right.
as a
Right.
vacation
So
home.
yeah, I mean, I bought a house in Dallas. I'm in the real estate business.
Yes, you
and
are.
So it made sense for me to buy real estate. So I bought a house in Dallas because it was a good opportunity, and I liked the location. And with some past experience in this field, I turned it into a vacation rental. So I basically bought an abandoned house. I rebuilt the house, and I really rebuilt it in mind for the vacation rental.
Yeah.
I didn't really build this huge structure. I built a size that I felt would work for this business model.
Yeah.
And you know, I launched it in March, and it's been going really, really well.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been going well.
Congratulations.
So 3 months. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And it was an intense process from start to finish.
Tell me a little bit. Would you care to share? Because I've always been interested in real estate, and being that you are in real estate and you're a person who just kind of dives into something with wholeheartedly,
Right.
it's tell me about it. So what's the process? You have this abandoned house, right? Is it kind of just the walls are kind of hollowed out, or how did the house look at first?
It looked horrible, man.
Yeah.
It looked real bad. It looked sad, you know. And it was in a great area of town in central Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I said, well, this is a good piece of real estate in terms of the land. The land alone is a good piece of real estate. And its location, its central proximity, and
Location.
You know, I said, hey, I
I've heard
know
it.
the trend is really there for vacation rental. And I made it big enough to support a large group of people, because I really feel that's where the real demand is, and that's where the real upside is. And so I built it just big enough, but not too big where it costs too much.
Yeah.
And you know, it was my first experience buying and building a house. So you know, I had kind of just dove in, like you said, and with some good guidance from people that I spoke with and got, you know, advice from, you know, I just moved forward
Yeah.
with it. You know, so how did I find it, right? You know, and how did I go about, you know, deciding that was the one and what have you. It really, there was not too much science to it, you know. I realized I wanted to buy something, and so I'm living in Dallas a lot, and
Yeah.
I was like, well, I might as well buy it here. So I called a guy that was selling. I found somebody online on biggerpockets.com, which is a real estate, you know, kind of forum and place for people
Biggerpockets.com.
to share information and learn, right, and educate themselves. And so I found a guy that was selling wholesale deals there in Dallas. And so essentially what they do is they are just, you know, kind of the middleman between the seller and the buyer, and they're really buying it and then assigning it at the close of escrow. So doing a double close. So they're buying it and then they're selling it immediately, and it's a double close. So they're selling it to a different person, and they're signing it, and they're taking a fee. They're taking the premium between what the guy sold it to them for and what they're able to sell it to me for. So they're shopping these deals all over, and, you know, they have a pulse, you know, on the market, because they're talking to so many guys. They're talking to so many people that are maybe in situations where the home is distressed or they, you know, it's abandoned in this case, right? And so he sent me a lot of properties. I got to know him, and then he sent me some properties, and I liked the location of this one. I thought the location could work. I was going into it with the intention to build it for vacation rental, and you know, I knew that the location was good, and so I said, okay, this is the one I'm going to do. You know, it's not too big of a project financially. It's, you know, I can capitalize it and make it happen. And so, and then it was the process of hiring a contractor, and, the property had some foundation issues, so I had
Yeah.
to go everything from the bottom up. Really fix the foundation to taking the property down the studs and then rebuilding it.
Wow. And the contractor helps you with all that, like as far as rebuilding it?
Yes, the contractor basically, I gave the contractor the instruction for how I wanted the house constructed, right?
Yeah.
And they gave me a bid based on those ideas and those finishes, and that bid was accepted. I accepted that bid, and then they deliver. And there's some hiccups along the way with construction a lot of times, and then they just
Sure.
you have to make what's called a change order, and that change order you accept it or you don't, and you just move forward with the project, and eventually we finished the project. So it took a little bit longer than I wanted. I spent a little bit more money than I wanted.
Sure.
But
that makes sense though,
it
because
ended up being still a really valuable investment, and now it's running, and it's a really great experience. I'm really a big fan of hospitality. I like providing a good experience for people in life in general. Like if I have someone over my house, I want them to have a good time.
I know, I can tell.
Right? And you are as well. So it's so I want the same for the business. I want the business to supply people with an experience, and
So how do people get a hold of your property?
so it's actually
VRBO or something like that? You post
so
it
it's
up on
across
VRBO?
it's across all the listing sites,
Mm.
and they book. They may ask questions, what have you. They might even book events. I'm getting events booked there. So it's like I got like somebody wants to have the wedding ceremony in the backyard because I have a big backyard.
Nice.
But then have the reception somewhere else. So it books even events, and so they can book it online through VRBO or HomeAway or TripAdvisor or Airbnb.
Cool.
And then it's all very seamless. I have the system set up so that it really kind of runs itself. I communicate with the guests, but I have a cleaning team that cleans it, very quickly on the turnaround. I have it automated for entry so that when guests come to stay, they don't have to have a transition of the keys. They don't have to pass off the keys. I don't have to pass off the keys.
Sure.
They don't have to be there at a certain time. They just get there when they get there, and they're able to get in with a passcode on
nice.
the lock, which we can change at any time from any location.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
All right.
It's very high tech, man. Well, I mean, no, it's like it's very
smart.
effective.
It's smart home stuff. Like that's the new trend right now with real estate in general, but especially in residential, which is like this smart home, which is this this coordination, this easy tech solution for managing your utilities, managing your entry systems, your security, your lifestyle inside the home, right?
Yeah. Do you ever have plans to live at the spot ever?
Not in the foreseeable future, but I did buy it with the intention of mind that in 10 years I may want to just scrape the house at that time, make the business run for 10 years and then build a bigger home there because it's a nice sized lot and it's
that's
in a
what you're
great area
saying.
of the city. So, it's an alternative use of the property that I can exercise in the future. So I don't know, but maybe.
Yeah. So you like Dallas?
I love Dallas. Yeah. I think
So tell me about it. I've never been.
it's flat.
It's flat. It's flat.
Yeah. It's flat. We're used to LA. We grew up in LA, and the topography is, it's mountainous. It has beaches. It has different things that, variety of kind of topography where Dallas is like the 1,000-yard stare. You can just like
wow.
keep
So
looking
it's like just
in any
flat.
direction. It's relatively flat,
And downtown Dallas, I'm sure, has like skyscrapers.
Yeah, they have downtown Dallas is large. They have big commercial buildings. What you'd see in kind of downtown LA, your corporate headquartered or your regional headquartered corporate buildings like Chase Building or what have you. But downtown Dallas is pretty cool skyline, cool place. And then there's other areas. The city's really kind of diverse with what it offers, like its neighborhoods. Kind of LA in a way. It has its arts district. It has its area called Deep Ellum, which is kind of an artsy area. It has Uptown, which is like West Hollywood. Think of West Hollywood. That's Uptown in Dallas. It's not far from downtown. It's just north of downtown. But Uptown is like the hip place where you're going to see, young people out, eating lunch and shopping and having fun,
Yeah. That's really cool, man. I want to take this conversation back. Like, I don't know. When did you first get into real estate?
I got into real estate About 5 years ago.
So I want to take it back like 6 years ago or 7 years ago
Okay.
when we were walking around your neighborhood,
Right.
and I don't know, we were just talking like we usually do.
Right.
For people who don't know, Justin and I have known each other for about 10 years now, from LMU.
Yeah.
And fuck, man, honestly, we kind of just hit it off like kind of right away, because I remember you in class asking questions, and not too many people ask questions in class. Not too many people are engaged as a student, but you were engaged as a student, and you were asking questions. I'm like, hey, this guy's pretty intelligent. I can hear by the way that you speak that you're generally interested in doing well in this class. And I went to a seminar with you one time, and there was this speaker who said, how you do anything is how you do everything. Yeah. So in retrospect, I've kind of known that for a while, and I was like, man, this guy probably just wants to do well in everything he does. So that kind of turned me on to you, and I don't know exactly how we started talking, but I was kind of, I didn't have any problems. It's like, I didn't catch like any bad vibes at all. I was like, man, this guy's fucking cool.
Right. And we would just, like it first started by, we would just see each other, on campus. And at that time, Marty, you were a hoodie guy.
I was a hoodie.
You loved hoodie. You loved hoodies. You'd be sporting a hoodie all the time, and you had your shaved head at that time. You just had overall a very good
yes, y'all.
You had a very good sense of spirit. I think my right ear cut out.
Oh,
right here. That's better.
Okay.
You had a good sense of spirit, and so I was like, at that time we'd see each other around campus and be like, "What's up, man?" And,
yeah.
Maybe once in a while see each other at the bar, possibly.
Yeah.
But it really our relationship kind of it grew after we got out of school, and we were kind of supporting each other right as we got out of school, sharing our story, sharing our what we were going through, trying to figure out how we fit into this world as adults.
Yeah.
Right? Following a college education.
Mm-hmm. You are also, and still are, like a critical thinker, like a deep thinker, and so am I. Mm-hmm. And I think that's another thing that kind of helped us bond as well. But I enjoy your friendship particularly because you're a person that like talks about doing something and has a vision, and then like pursues it, mm-hmm. and then goes and does it. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate that in people. Mm-hmm. And you're one of those people who does it. So I appreciate that about you. So we were talking about 6-7 years ago, and we're just kind of walking around after dinner at your place in Hancock Park.
Right.
And you're talking about, man, you know what? I feel like I would have a good knack for real estate. Do you remember this conversation? Yeah. And I was just like, you know what? Man, you're going to do it. And then through the years, everything is a process. Mm-hmm. And building this podcast was a process, and to see you take step by step in order to, okay, I'm getting my real estate license now. I got my real estate license. I'm working for this company. I'm doing deals. Oh, I'm going to Chamber of Commerce meetings. I'm meeting people. Right. And to see that, it just all makes sense. They say that luck is when preparation meets preparedness or some shit like that.
Preparation meets opportunity, I believe.
Preparation meets opportunity. Yeah. And that's so true. It's just you just keep on doing the work, and then when that opportunity comes, like you're prepared to take it, and you were prepared to take it, and now look at you, man.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a lot from the beginning to where I am now, as it is, like you said, with any process, right? And so when I decided I wanted to go into real estate, I knew obviously I had to get a real estate license. So I studied and took the test and got my license. But in that whole process, I was already building the relationships that were going to be required once I had the license to do anything, because
that makes sense.
A lot of people get real estate licenses, especially in the state of California. They have a very high number of licensees, but they don't know how to make money with the license. And so, I didn't know how to make money with the license when I first started either. Right. But what I did was that I had some relationships from business that I had done as an outside salesperson, and I had made a relationship with a boutique commercial real estate firm in downtown Los Angeles. And, you know, through my relationship with them, I said, hey, I'm ready to go into real estate. They had asked me a year and a half before probably if I was interested. And, you know, I said, hey, I'm ready to go into it. Is there any opportunities with you? And they said yes. And, you know, I got to work directly with the president of the company and kind of handle, you know, some of his assistant type of stuff. So I really started out as an assistant in that business. And I really think that in life you have to be humble enough to start out as an assistant in anything that you do. And when you want to do, right, you have to learn before you can run. So, you know, I learned a lot in the year or so that I worked with him. I'm glad it was the person that actually was running the company that I was learning from, because that's somebody that knows what they're doing.
Good mentorship.
Right.
Yes.
And so it came time where I was feeling a little restless. I wanted to start doing my own real estate business. I wanted to start actually being more involved. I was involved in the deals that he was involved in. And I started to get a very good experience and started to understand a lot of different elements of real estate. But I decided I wanted to start doing my own stuff. And I felt somewhat kind of restricted at that point. Yeah. And so I decided, hey, where do I want to do real estate? Because really real estate it's a market-based business like anything else. And you need to know the market to be really successful in what you're doing. And so I had a prior, familiarity with Hollywood, California, because I moved to Hollywood when I was 18 years old to study music. Right. And, you know, I moved from Orange County to Hollywood at 18, and I knew Hollywood, you know, at least to some degree. I lived there. I walked the streets a lot. I was somewhat familiar with the landscape. And so I said, if I'm going to do commercial real estate, I should be doing that in an area where I know and that I actually like. I like Hollywood. I like the entertainment component of it. I like the fact that it still feels like it has a long way to go. It really did at that time, and it still does. And so I said, hey, how can I get involved in Hollywood? And so I went to, you know, I said, okay, well, where would people that need real estate help, or where would people that know people that use real estate, have real estate, own it, control it, whatever it is, where would they congregate? How would they be involved in the community? And I said, of course, the Chamber of Commerce, duh. And so I went to a Chamber of Commerce mixer, kind of as just a trial. They didn't charge me. They said, hey, if you want to try this and see what it's about, come by. And so I went. It was at the Redberry Hotel on Vine in Hollywood. Oh, yeah. And, you know, I came. I got like a name tag. I just wrote real estate on the name tag. I didn't even put my name on it because what does it matter, right? It's just I want people to know I'm in real estate. Yeah. And, you know, so this is really put yourself. This is a year and a half of me having, you know, any involvement in the business. Right. Okay. And I'm walking around and meeting some people. I have a glass of wine, whatever. And then I'm about to leave because I'm there for an hour and a half. I'm like, oh, this is kind of interesting. I think this is cool, but there's nothing here. I don't think anybody else I can talk to at this point. And I knew I was going to get a parking ticket because I was parked outside. I was like, oh, this meter's going to run out. Right. Welcome to Hollywood. And so I'm about to leave. I'm departing, and a guy goes, hey, real estate. And I'm like, hey, real estate. Like, yeah. He's like, you're just the guy I need to see. I need to talk with you. And I almost was like, hey man, I gotta go. I'm gonna get a ticket outside. But I was like, you know, I didn't pay to go to this event. Like, what's this guy got to say? This is the most interesting thing that's happening here right now. You know, like, what's he got to say? And he introduced himself and said, hey, I run, the #1 nightclub crawl business in the U.S. and we want to open a location in Hollywood. And, we really need help finding a location. We don't need to have actually a store. We just need to have some space on the boulevard. We want to be on the boulevard because we sell tickets and we only need a small space. He said, can you help me with that? I want to get as close to Hollywood and Highland, which is the main intersection of Hollywood, as possible. And I said, well, maybe I could help you with that. I could probably get in touch with the owners of those buildings. And he says, okay, well, let's catch up after that. And so, anyways, I got a parking ticket and I went back to work, and I actually started calling the owners of even though this opportunity was relatively small, I just wanted to explore it. Right? Yeah. And I started calling all the owners of Hollywood Boulevard that were close to that intersection of Highland. And, finally I got one on the phone and I gave him a pitch. Like, hey, I have, #1 nightclub crawl business. They just want a small space on the boulevard underneath your canopy, your awning. What can we do? And he goes, hey, come in. And so anyways, long story short, I ended up signing a lease and representing that tenant, right? the guy that I met at the Chamber of Commerce, who was the nightclub crawl business. And,
Right.
you know, through the process of the lease transaction, it's really interesting. I actually got to know the landlord well. And I
Is
think,
this Medley?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And Medi. And he, you know, I think he saw a young, hungry guy who was eager to learn. And he said, you know, why don't you, Justin, come work for me? You know, why don't you come work with me? Why don't you can handle, you know, the portfolio that I have, and I will guide you to use your energy to help me get what I want, and at the same time you'll learn your business. And so anyways, that was the start of something really big. And then, you know, over the last 3.5 years, I've traveled states. You know, I've done over $100 million of real estate transactions.
What?
I've been involved in.
Fucking dude.
So
God,
it's been a wild ride, and it's led me to live in 2 states and to buy real estate on my own, and to, you know, build a house, and you know, and get to know a lot of people across the Southwest United States, and really start to live a different life of you know, in business. And it was it's been a it's been a long process, and it's had a lot of ups and downs, but it's been a really exciting process.
Kind of just coming back to everything as a process is that what you were just explaining to me sounds like a process that you were preparing yourself and being diligent in your work, and then fucking you get lucky because you're doing all the preparation, and then the opportunity comes in, and that's exactly like that saying, luck is when preparation meets opportunity. But like, how did you start to get in this mindset? Because I feel like from what you have told me in the past that you're a typical high school student, you know, drink and party and just, you know, screw around or whatever.
Sure.
Did you always have this mindset when you were younger of just completing goals? Or was it something that you had to develop?
Well, you know, I was always active, right? Like, my parents always had me playing sports. I played 3 or 4 sports in a year. And so I was always active, you know, and I think in the process of playing sports, actually, people actually learn the process of completing things, because there's a start to learning how to play with this group of people, or it's a start to learning how to play this sport, and then developing skills to continue to play that sport going forward. And I think that alone, sports is a great thing for people to build, you know, the skill 100%. Of actually completing things and growing and developing disciplines, right? A pitcher who's a pitcher, and he's growing up, and he's working on, you know, first he's just throwing very minimally, and then he starts growing up, and he starts realizing he has a skill, and he can throw the ball in different ways, and he's developing a discipline. That discipline is not going to just benefit him in baseball. It's going to benefit him in everything in his life. Right. So sports are like that. I mean, I think other things are like that as well. I think if kids play music, I think if kids do anything, I think if they're active, you know, if they're active, I feel like, you know, kids are going to be developing disciplines and learning how to accomplish things. But it doesn't stop there, right? Because there's a lot of people who do those things, and then they ultimately have troubles completing things later, you know, as they get older. So I don't really know what it really comes down to. I think I just have an intense passion to grow. Yeah. And I want to grow so much that I do things to grow. Like, I just take actions to grow, and it grows in weird ways. Like, if I was a haircut, like, it would grow like that way and that way and that way. It'd be the Liberty Spike haircut. Yeah.
Oh my God, dude. That's hilarious. Yeah.
And so you're right, though, in high school, to kind of bring it back, you know, I wasn't the best student in high school. I was really just interested in exploring my creativity and adrenaline, and playing sports and playing music and spending time with friends. And that's really how I spent my high school. I didn't study too much. And I kind of look back on it and go, I wish I would have, but I don't, because I really found like a voice for myself, and a personality that I found in that period of years. You know?
So funny. I'm the same way. Like, I didn't start one of the things that helped my personality come out in high school was drinking and partying.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that I had this specific personality until I was able to like let myself just have the excuse, oh, this is because I'm drunk.
Right.
Well, no, not really. You've always had this inside of you, but you're just using the alcohol as an excuse to act that well. In my freshman and sophomore year, man, I had friends who we would play basketball and kind of just hang out, really not talk to girls too much. And then I had some friends who are a grade older than I was, and they would walk around the campus and they would be like on the patrol to search for girls or whatever. And then they would see me with my friends kind of just hanging out and like, what the fuck is Marty doing hanging out with those people, you know? And I'm like, and they told me this before, and I didn't think anything of it because I'm like, these guys are cool. We ball up, we talk shit, you know, we weren't really too academically focused, but yeah. And then all of a sudden I start hanging out with them. They're like, come hang out with us, see what it is to be on this side of the school or whatever.
Sure.
So I hang out with them, and then we start drinking and we start partying. And then that's where my friends, I get a piercing in my cartilage, my cartilage right here. And then my friend gives me the nickname Martizi. And then I'm like, oh, fuck, man. All right. I'm just like a different person right now or something. Because I'm going to parties, you know, I'm like talking to girls, dancing with them, whatever, making out and doing all this crazy shit. And I'm just like, this is so fun. But then also, this is so fun. But then also I started drinking a lot. I started like stealing, and I started smoking, and I started like going into some dark places, getting handcuffed and shit. Crazy. But that helped, and I wouldn't take it back because that helped me to develop and become the person who I am today. But kind of similar to you when it comes to like seeing things in completion, I played sports and things like that helped me kind of get that. But what I noticed is like whoever you hang around with, you become. And that was a big revelation for me, because I was like, okay, I was a certain way when I was hanging out with this set of people. Now I'm a certain way when I'm hanging around these set of people. And now, fast forward, getting into community college, I'm like, you know what? I'm paying for my school now. I want to go in a certain direction and graduate and get a bachelor's, just because maybe my dad, that's what he wanted for me or something of the sort. But I knew that was important. So I just had the revelation of like, hey, whoever I want to be like, that's who I need to hang around with. And it's helped me out big time. And that's why I like surrounding myself with people like yourself and the people that I hang around with. And I've been very, very fortunate. And I don't know if this is just my bias, because this is just the way that I think, but my friends are the most loving, respectful, funny savages like I have ever met. Savages. Like, I feel like you're a savage when it just comes to like getting it done. Fuck, man, you're a savage. And that's how a lot of my friends are. And I just really appreciate that, because that's what I want to become. There's so much more that we have to become in life that I just want to be open to seeing what's out there that's possible and then experiencing it. One example is your fucking penthouse. That shit is off the chain, dude. Like, I've never been in a place like that. And just to be able to have that experience, I know that exists, but when you have a friend who is living in it that is not much different than you, then it just internalizes it for yourself and makes the dream a possibility. Like, oh, it's tangible.
Sure. Yeah, that's very true. And, you know, that's why it's important to hang around people that you want to be doing things like, or be, you know, doing things to the same level. You know, that's why it's important, because when you see what's actually going on in life, you actually realize it's attainable. It's, you know, that's the question a lot of people have. Well, can I do it? Or is this going to work? Or am I going to make it? Or whatever. because everybody has questions in their head, right? And so when you're able to just see it visually, being around somebody and see what it's like day to day, how they experience life at a different level, it's that's what starts to make it feel attainable. And that's an important reason for why you have, you should, I think, spend your time around people that you want to be like. Whether that's somebody that just gives themselves to their family. I know a lot of people like that who are like, they just do it for their family. Like, and I love being around people like that because they remind you to be selfless, and you're like that a lot with your friends, actually. So for sure.
Yeah, man, I really think that's important, and it's one of these things that hit me, and I've kind of been on a mission to preach that to people, because when there's a saying that people are a product of their environment, right? People are a product of their environment, and I think for the most part that makes sense if you're not able to come out of that paradigm. For example, when I was in high school, hang around these people, I was this way. Hang around these people, I was this way. So if you don't understand that concept that you are who your friends are, then subconsciously you're kind of just stuck in the environment that you're in. You'll just become that. So I've kind of been on a mission to preach that, like, you are who your friends are, and to try and get that over and relay that information in a way that's not so cheesy and not so corny. And it's been working. I've had countless people come up to me and tell me, hey, Marty, your videos, they take me higher, man. They take me higher. And these are people who are not the most sharing type, tattoos, or they, kind of people that have never been told this information. But because I was able to hang around with them and be friends with them, it makes it real. And then they believe it, like, holy shit, you know what? You're right. And I think that through this podcast, if I can get people on, and maybe, because not everybody's going to be able to relate to me, and I want to be able to touch as many people as possible. So I think that through having guests on, people might be able to relate with you.
It's true.
That aren't able to relate with me, and people might be able to relate with me that are not able to relate with you. But because we're able to relate with one another, maybe we can put things in a way that reaches more of an audience. So that's kind of just a idea that I have. I'm not sure if it'll manifest, but it kind of makes sense, and it's been making sense.
You don't want to add to that too, because I've had like a revelation recently, and it may sound really common sense, but it's worth noting. But I've noticed that there's a lot of people that just desire money, right? And I know a lot of people that have a lot of money, and they're not always the happiest people. And I've noticed that sometimes people are willing to sacrifice a relationship in pursuit of money. And that's an interesting thing I've seen, in the last couple of years, that has really changed the way that I see, and it's really it's changed the way that I see relationships with people, because I've told myself, like, I do not ever want to sacrifice a relationship for money. It's like, how much more do you value money than a relationship? Do you value money more than a relationship, or do you value a relationship more than money? Like my relationship with you, Marty, like if someone said, hey, you could go over Marty and make 100,000, is that worth going over Marty? No.
Right.
By the way, there's another way to make money without having to go over Marty.
Right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
You don't have to sacrifice relationships. So, I think that's something that people really need to understand as well. Is like, relationships are more valuable than money. Money's valuable, no doubt. It's a very important thing. But so are relationships. If not more.
That's an interesting perspective, and it's true, I think, and I would fully agree with you that money's a weird thing, because it brings a lot of power, a lot of resources, a lot of greed, and I've seen this in business with my parents or with my pops and business partners, and it causes a bunch of consternation and a bunch of problems. And then you see this like theme repeatedly in movies and stuff like The Social Network and things like that, where that one guy got left out of some business deals or whatever, and it's like, man, that sucks. Like that's your friend, and you screw him over like that. It's kind of crazy and mind blowing to me, but it's interesting because without, like, say if you were the only person in this world, that would pretty much suck, right? If you were the only person in the world,
It would be bad. Yeah.
it would be bad. If I was the only person in the fucking world, I'd be like, what's the purpose? Like, what's going on here? Why am I the only one here?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think the thing that makes life so unique is special relationships in general. But when you get like a special relationship, then that I feel is what makes life really significant. So relationships are very, very important, and that's why I focus on them so heavily, because I know that without relationships, then like, what's the purpose? What's the purpose of life? You have to be in relation to another person in order to experience life on another level. Because I've traveled by myself, and it's awesome. It is awesome. I love it. Like, I've been to Hawaii by myself, and I enjoy, as a introspective person, to be able to take the time to think about my life and reflect and have the silence. But if I was the only person in the fucking world, it's like that movie I Am Legend with Will Smith, when he's like the only person and he's fighting off all these zombies. I'd be like almost happier to be like fighting off these zombies than that not even have the zombies there. Like, what am I doing here? You know what I mean? At least I got these zombie motherfuckers that I could just like interact with, you know, instead of like talking to a mannequin or something of the sort, like in the movie.
It's not a way, you know, you're right. It's 100% right. Like, if you have nobody else living on the planet, there's no point you being there.
Yeah, not really, right?
There's no point at all. I mean, unless you can kickstart or restart, you know, the population. You have to find you know, obviously you have to find a way to do that.
Yeah.
Either a woman or in vitro.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's no other reason for you to be there.
Yeah, it just that's why relationships are so special. Man. Yeah, I don't know where else to go with this conversation.
No, I mean, you know, I think it's like it's how does relationships guide your life? You know, like how does it guide the way that you do what you're doing right now with podcasting? You know, how does that actually play a part in it? Because I do believe it plays a major part for you. How do relationships play a part in why you do what you do right now?
Yeah. Well, just thinking about like our relationship right here. For one, it's just like, it's cool medium to have a conversation through. And I don't know necessarily if I hadn't asked you to do a podcast, if we would be meeting up this soon.
We wouldn't, probably.
We probably wouldn't be meeting up this soon. So that's one thing that through this podcast, like, relationships play a significant role. I mean, it's cool to do the podcast, and I'm fucking stoked to have you on. But again, it's more important for me just to have you as a relationship.
Sure, but what, like, kind of, you know, going back to what you said earlier, is that, you know, somebody else may see this podcast, and I would think, right? So, you know, at least one person, right? And if that one person sees this podcast, then you're creating a relationship with that one person. Whether it's for 30 minutes or however long they watched or listened to the podcast, you're in relation to them, right?
Yeah.
In an experience of sharing ideas. And they are, in this situation, they are the passive receiver of information, but they are engaging you in their attention.
That is so cool, man. That's
so
great.
The relationships are actually full circle for why you're doing this.
Yeah, that is really great, man. Because when I think about it, I'm sure as the podcast grows that people are going to get to know me more and more and more and more, because they're going to see like hour-long podcasts of me sharing my ideas with guests Do you watch any podcasts?
No, I've listened to Joe Rogan a bit, and occasionally I'll tap into like a real estate podcast, but I don't listen. I like them. I like them a lot.
Yeah. So I watch Joe Rogan's podcast all the time. I just watch it all the time. Like I swear to you, I have probably seen over like 500 episodes of his 3-hour long podcast. So that's like 1,500 hours of watching his podcast. So it's funny because he even talks about this. Like people feel like they know Joe Rogan because they watch his stuff all the time and they get to see the way that he thinks and his ideas.
He's so funny. I saw him in improv like a month
Did
ago.
you?
Yeah, I saw him do stand-up a month ago.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Nice, man. At the improv?
At the Hollywood Improv.
Nice.
Yeah, he was Joe Rogan through and through. Go ahead and finish your thought, though.
Yeah. But people, like, I feel like I know Joe Rogan just through watching his podcast. But so if I were to go up and see Joe Rogan, I'd be like, Joe, fuck, let me give you a hug. Right. like let me give you a hug. What's up, man? Like, I feel like I know him like I know you.
Right.
He doesn't know anything about me. You know what I mean? He doesn't even know I exist, which is so funny. But I am the passive receiver of the information that he is providing and the entertainment that he is providing. And I enjoy that. So I feel like I have a relationship with Joe Rogan, and I'm sure that through this podcast, people are gonna start to have a relationship with me.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad because I feel like I am a good human being. That if you were to listen to my thoughts, that it would only benefit. You would find some benefit.
Right.
And I think that would that's gonna help many people. Yeah. So I think that's the way that. Speaking of relationships and just off what you were saying, I think that's a huge benefit when it comes to relationships because I love relationships.
Awesome, man.
Yeah. So where do we go from here, Jay Ruby?
I don't know. What do you want to talk about?
What? Yeah. We got I would say about like another 15 minutes to go at least or like around 20 minutes at most. So, one thing that I find fascinating about you, and I kind of said this in the beginning, is like you like to get shit done, but you're a deep introspective thinker, and the Landmark Forum. I have to thank you, man. I don't know if I really have told you about this, but you were the person that turned me on to the Landmark Forum, and I've gotten tremendous benefit from it, even though it's kind of like been years and years and years in the past.
How many years has it been? Like 3 years, right?
For me, I think it's been
2.5 years. 2?
No.
It can't be longer than 3 because I did 3.
Yeah, but you were doing it a little bit longer. I only did the forum.
Right. But I did the forum like 3.5 years ago.
Ah, okay. So then, yeah. So okay. So I'm thinking that might have been longer than it was ago. But thanks so much for turning me on to that. And if people don't know what the Landmark Forum is, check it out. There's some great learning experiences that you can experience through that. But man, it just comes back to you being like a seeker of yourself.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you have a soul? Is that a weird question? Do you feel like you do you feel like God, I don't even know how to articulate this question, but do you feel like there's something more to life than just kind of like what we're experiencing right now?
I don't know. I've gone over the line on that question. I think maybe 2 or 3 times since I've been, 18 years old. All I know is that this is an amazing place to be. And there's an amazing opportunity to experience being alive, and really that's really kind of where I like to put the attention.
Yeah,
I just don't know.
I like that.
I don't know I don't know how to even go to another place and think about what it would be like, or is it real?
Yeah,
I just don't.
Yeah, I mean that's really great though. It's like my cousin. I don't know if you met him. My cousin Robert.
I think I did meet him.
Yeah, you might have met him a couple times. And Robbie, if you're watching this, dude, I love you, but I have to spit this. that he's real big into Jesus and God, and he's always talking to me about Jesus, and this is really helping to improve his life. But I feel like when people focus too much on the afterlife, you're missing what's so beautiful about this life. Like, there's so many beautiful things. And I think this was Stephen Pressfield or somebody was on Oprah Winfrey's Super Soul Sunday that said, it's like, don't like wait to go to heaven. Like, bring heaven on earth. Like, don't bring that level of goodness, that at least idea of goodness, like bring that shit down to here. It's important that you go through life and experience all the hardships and all like the greed and the jealousy and the cheating and the lying and the backstabbing. Like, that's just kind of a default, I feel like, of humans at this current stage. But there's so much beauty and there's so much good in humans as well, that if you could like have that idea of bringing like the goodness and the love and the passion to life right here, right now, while still like being common sense to not like let anybody too close to you that is like of a certain character, because you have all these references of negative people and you could kind of like get a feel of who they are. Man, that's a real good combination. That is a real good combination. And it's important to be logical and practical and be living life right here, right now, on your own terms. And that's one thing I really appreciate about you, man. And yeah, I really appreciate your friendship.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I think the idea is to just strive to be better, right? And sometimes it takes falling down to realize that you want to be better.
Yeah.
It's a weird kind of way of understanding it, but that's happens to a lot of people where they fall down, right? And then they understand that it can be done differently and it should be done differently, and and they end up doing it differently, and they experience a higher level of thinking and awareness and love for things and people, outside of themselves. Sometimes people are born with that, and sometimes most people, I would say, are they have to understand that, they have to learn that, through the process of living and falling down and getting burned or burning somebody else or whatever it is it comes down to.
Yeah, that happens to me a lot whenever I drink. Like whenever I drink.
Tell me, Marty. You go crazy. You turn into.
Well, whenever I drink, I turn into Martese. I mean, it's not necessarily so much that, but I just feel like such a shitbag after, like the morning after I'm like just turned.
Right.
And
turn.
And but it I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just something that's like kind of like the personality that I was born with, or something that I've cultivated over the time. But I feel like I just messed up last night, and now I get to grow from that. Does that make sense? Because I feel like shit in the morning. I'm like, what? Like, why did you do that? You're a failure. You are such a jackass. And even though I didn't really do anything really stupid most of the time, the next day I just feel like a massive, like I just want to hang out with my friends, and like I want to pay for their lunch. I want to hang out with I just want to like hug my mom or something. Like, I get a deep sense of gratitude and appreciation for life. It's so strange, but I think it's coming back to like I feel like I messed up, or I burned somebody, or I did something stupid, and the next morning I just kind of like want to make it all up. So in a weird way, that I'm so weird like that. Like, I find any way to grow, like any way to just like lift right. Any way, man. So
you forget to call somebody on their birthday, and you're like,
yeah,
I gotta grow from this.
Yeah, exactly. Just little things. I'm so weird like that. Do you experience anything like that?
I do. Probably not to the same degree as you do, but yeah, no, definitely. I mean, if I mess up, if I feel like I messed up, then yeah, I have to address it right inside. I have to say, well, like, what happened, and where did I go wrong here? Like, what did I do, and what could I have done differently in this situation? And sometimes it's just not taking as many sips as I did. But I think that's natural to grow from that. It's funny that you would have that experience though, like almost like as if you seek getting drunk just so you can wake up the next day feeling shitty and then wake up and grow from it. That would be a funny like concept.
It's a weird thing. I don't think I seek that, but I have that pathway carved in my brain already that I'm like, I don't like look forward to doing it. I never do it intentionally, but I know that that's something that I always grow from.
Well, possibly it comes from, that's because I have one-offs too, like where I just really let loose and, it might be on a party, might be like a 2-day party or just one really long night, it seems like. And, I'll wake up and I won't necessarily feel 100%, like I won't feel like I did if I wouldn't have done it. But I still feel a lot of, excitement from the previous night. Like it's residual excitement.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I think it comes from me still wanting to feel young again. Like I think when I go out and I have some drinks with friends and we're up late and we're partying and we're having fun, we're just enjoying ourselves.
Yeah.
And kind of being a little bit, reckless in the sense that we're not being so serious, right?
Turned up,
right? When we're turned up, like, that reminds me of being young and it takes me back there a little bit. And I think I feel alive when I get turned up a bit,
Yeah.
And then
I hear
you come back and you're like, okay, well, I'm an adult and
all right. I got responsibilities, got shit to do.
I got to make sure that gets done. And this happens. Oh, that person's waiting to hear from me. And then you start going, oh, dang it. Like I really shouldn't have woken up at this time of day. And I really should have been up this time. And I did want to do this and do that. And look I didn't do it.
Yeah.
And as you get older, I think you realize your time is shorter.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You start realizing time is short. And and that's when you start feeling bad about how you spend it if you don't spend it in a way that's in congruence with how you're looking to spend it or the way that you're desiring to spend your time. Or if you set forth a goal or a plan of how you spend your time and then you get diverted from that maybe through a process of partying, then you feel slight guilt, and you want to kind of recorrect.
Yeah. I don't like to get drunk. Well, I do like to get drunk maybe about, I would say probably like maybe once every 6 months, maybe like just like drunk and like let loose, because I know that the next day I'm going to feel horrible. I'm just going to feel horrible. No matter what I do, I could drink like a lot of water. I could have Advil. I'm not like firing on all cylinders.
Tell me the last time you got like
really fucked up, like really hammered.
Yeah.
Jesus.
You're like yesterday.
No, man. I can't even like recall really. Right. Usually when I do it, like I'm in Vegas or like really, really messed up. But there's this one time, I'll share this story. Like it's a quick story, but I think I got roofied once in Vegas. Me and my boys, we were going after work on a Friday. We left like at 7:30 on a Friday evening, and then left to drive to Vegas, and we got there about 11:30. Got into the hotel, and we had bottles already, so we just start drinking really quick because we want to get out and we want to experience the club. So that was probably a mistake because I was probably really drunk already by the time I got to the club, like 30 minutes to an hour later. But here's the scary thing, we get to the club and we buy another drink or whatever. We're at Tao, in the Venetian. Yeah. And so we're partying, we're dancing, we're turning up, and then 2 o'clock a.m. hits, and then all of a sudden I go dark. Boom. Yeah. So 2 o'clock hits around, and then I go black, and then, but if I'm blacked out drunk, I'm sleeping. I'm like crashed out. I'm like doing something, and then I crash out. But I was still up. I wake up from my blackout like at 6:30 in the morning, and I'm walking across the bridge. I'm walking across the bridge that connects from the Venetian to the Encore. I'm walking across that bridge, and I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck just happened? And I lost my phone. I have poker chips in my pocket. I didn't have no recollection of anything.
You came to though?
I came to, dude, standing up. I'm like, whoa, all right. And so that doesn't happen when you're blacked out drunk. You're like crashed out. You're not awake. You're wrecked. So that's why I think like somebody like slipped me a roofie or something like that.
You know what's funny? My other buddy said, he actually feels like he got roofied.
Yeah.
In Vegas too, by a couple girls in a cab. he was in a cab with a couple girls.
Yeah.
And it was a long ride. It was like a 15-minute ride, and they were talking, and they were planning to go like somewhere, and I think that he actually got out of the car and went with them into whatever club they were going, and they were dancing for a little while, and then same story. He like wakes up, like he said he didn't have a whole lot to drink even, and he woke up the next day, like I think in his room without his wallet.
Yeah.
It was, he's like, I don't even know how I got here.
It's so scary, man.
It's
so scary.
To black out
it's so scary to black out, and to think, man, I was cruising around like gambling and crossing the streets, probably doing a bunch of like wild shit. Right. Who knows what I was doing? But kind of to bring this to a close, we've been talking about like you're a pretty high performing guy. I feel like I'm a pretty high performing guy at times. What's your what's your routine? Like, how do you keep yourself in shape?
It's actually really simple.
Sharp.
Yeah, it's really simple. I just make sure, and it comes with really kind of isolating myself a lot.
Yeah.
Every day, I do have my periods of time where I see people, but I isolate myself. A lot of times at night. I'm getting work done. I'm working out. I like to work out at night for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I'm not very good in the morning, so I work out at night. And during the day, I work a lot. I'm working on the various projects that I have, and I've been doing that. I've been working like this at this level just every day. Doing something. During the week doing a lot more, and then the weekends doing something related to what I want for a long time now. And so I think when it comes down to like performance for me, it's really a variety of things. It's not like just go after hustling every day, but make sure you're seeing your family if you have any.
Nice.
Make sure you're spending time with them. And if your friends are your family, then spend time with your friends. Make sure you're spending time with those key friends. That I really make sure I'm spending time with key friends now at this point. So I spend time with key friends, people that I want to be around, people that I want to be like. And then I spend time with, myself in an artistic manner. I make music, so that's a way for me to keep in alignment, and I make sure I get plenty of sleep.
Yeah.
I make sure I get plenty of sleep. I don't mess with sleep anymore.
Yeah.
I just make sure I get at least 7 hours of sleep.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And that's
I
why
used to try to skip it, and it hurt my performance.
There's a really good podcast with Joe Rogan, and he has a scientist who's like a neurologist or a neuroscientist who studies sleep. You should check that one out, man. Maybe I'll send you a link or something like that about how important sleep is, and you'll trip out. But yeah, that's why no drinking really anymore, too hard, because the next day you're just like
Diet is so important.
Diet is extremely important.
What are you eating for lunch? Are you still able to have the energy you had in the beginning of the day in the afternoon? And sometimes you're not because of what you're eating. So what are you eating for lunch? What are you eating for breakfast? Are you eating for breakfast? You should be. So
What's your diet like? What is a typical day for J. Rubes?
I eat a lot of peanut butter and like grains in the morning. Like I eat cereal with peanut butter, or I eat like yogurt, Greek yogurt with peanut butter, and then like a piece of fruit usually. And that might go into a shake, or I just might eat it, as the real thing. And then during the day, I'll eat, more fruit. I'll usually eat a salad with a protein.
Yeah.
I'll mix in a protein shake in the day sometime, and then I'll eat a nice dinner at the end of the day. Usually something, that has vegetables, something that has some type of fiber, and something that has some type of protein.
Yeah. Ever since I can remember, you coming, like whenever I would go over your house and would have dinner, you'd be cooking. you know, you'd have like maybe some like a nice piece of protein, and then we'll get maybe there's some like beans or like something along the sort. But I can always remember, man, you've always just been so like well put together, and I've always appreciated that about you, man.
I appreciate
Like, you know, I definitely want to start wrapping this up because my shit's kind of freaking out. But let's do this again, man.
Yeah.
Let's do this again. There's
Right.
more to say. There's so much more to say, and I'll be more well equipped with all my technical capabilities and things like that.
Sure.
So, yeah, man, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Marty.
Justin
Thanks,
Rubel, everybody.
That's good, man.
Cool.